going to compare some sublimation papers. Got three kinds here. Got A-Sub, Hypoo, and Text Print. We're going to compare them, and we are going to do them on polyacrylic coated ceramic tile, because everything sticks to this when you go to sublimate onto it. And I've heard that the Text Print doesn't stick quite so much. And I also wanted to compare the colors. So we're going to do 3 identical graphics on 3 identical tiles, all at the identical temperature. Coming up. Hi, I'm Roger. Welcome to the loft above the shop. Because it's warm up here, it's cool downstairs, and it's just plain cold outside. Or as they say, colder than a well digger's butt on a Klondike. But we won't go there. So the subject of this video is going to be comparing these 3 types of sublimation papers. This is Text Print, DT. It's supposed to have good release properties. We're going to find out. This will be the first time I've ever used this. And then the other papers will be A-Sub, which is what we use quite a bit, and Hypoo. I think that's the way that's pronounced. And I have used this before. We mainly use A-Sub, but I do use Hypoo. I do use Hypoo ink because I've always had good luck with it. Right off, this paper, the A-Sub, and the Text Print have a watermark on the back so you know which is the front and which is the back. On the Hypoo, it says to print on the white side of the paper. Well, what they should say is print on the whitest side of the paper, and you need to be in some good lighting to be able to see which side is right, because one side is whiter than the other, that is a brighter shade of white, and one side is a little less white, I guess you would say, and it's especially when you got old eyes, it's hard to see that, and you got to be in some really good light. So if you print on the wrong side, then it doesn't sublimate correctly. So that's the 3 different papers we're going to go through. I have some tiles prepped. These are the common 4 1/4 inch square tiles you buy at the home center, home store. This happens to be Mohawk brand, made in USA and everything. These have been prepped with a light coating, or I should say a light sanding of 400 grit paper to take the real shiny part of the glaze off. That helps the polyacrylic stick better. Then it has 2 coats of polyacrylic on it with ample drying time between the 2 coats. I mean, we're talking 4 or 5 hours between coats. And I've done these before, and what I've always had a problem with, and we have the same thing when we do glass cutting boards, is the paper will not release. You have to actually soak it in water to get it to release. And I've heard that the Text Print releases easier. We're going to find that out. And we're going to compare the 3 papers, all using the identical same graphic, identical time, all on the press at the same time. And right now I'll go to the computer and I'll show you how I'm creating the graphic if you've never done this before. So the program we're going to use here is called Inkscape. It's a free download. So I'll open that up here. I've got it saved in my taskbar. And you'll get a window that'll pop up like this. Now, depending on where you're from, whether you're from across the pond or in the United States, I myself like to work in inches. So you can change this up here. Your document size right here by default opens up as an A4. If you like, you can change that to 8.5 by 11, but the size is very, very close. And for what we are doing here today with these small graphics, I'm not concerned about it. So, how do you open a graphic? Well, you go up here to File, and then Import. Of course, I already have one here that I'm going to use. So you would go to where your graphic is. And this will pop up. It's a PNG import. You can also do a bitmap or a JPG. From File, just leave everything alone as it is there. And then this will pop up and it'll be like just way too big. So the tiles we're doing are 4 inches square, but I want my graphic to be 3.75. That's 3 3/4 inches square. So I'm going to lock this little padlock so we keep everything in perspective. And I'll take the largest measurement here, which is 14 inches, and change that to 3.75. Okay, now your graphic disappeared. Well, no it didn't. It's still on the page. Just got to go get it. So we'll go up here, find him, we'll bring him down, put him in our page. And if you were making several of these, you could do a copy and paste. For example, copy. And click down here, paste. Now you got two of them, but we're only going to work with one here. Well, I guess I could print two, it wouldn't hurt anything. Get them kind of centered up on your page. Okay, once you decide that that's what you like, we'll go up here to File and Print. You can also save this if you would like to save it. In fact, I will save this, because we're going to do this on 3 different types of paper. We'll take this up here to... And I'm just going to call this my lizards. And that'll save. Okay, now we need to print this. File. Print. I'm going to be printing on the ET2720 Epson, which is my sublimation printer. The first thing I want to do here is go to Preferences. And because we are printing this on a tile, it will need to be mirrored. The document size here, this is where you can change the document size and make it letter if you like. Okay, you want to have quality set to high, obviously color. Paper type, premium presentation paper matte. And I always do a print preview before it actually goes ahead and prints. And I go up here to where it says more options. We are going to mirror the image. Make sure high speed is turned off or you will not get very good color. It's always best to turn that high speed off. And just click OK. And click Print. Of course, here the preview will come up. And I need to load some paper and get this printing. All I need to do then is click on Print. Okay, so got the graphics printed. This one here is on the text print paper. Well, take that back. This one here is on the Haipu paper. This one here is on the text print. And this one here is on the A-sub. All I need to do is get these cut down to size for my tiles, and we'll get them on the tiles, and we'll get them on the heat press. We'll see how this turns out. Okay, so I know one question is going to come up is, well, how do you know where to cut? Now, I've cut these all in half, roughly. I've got these two already prepped here. The way I do it is I take one of these tiles. If you have something that's 4 1/4 inches square and clear, this would be real easy. You just lay it on there and trace around it. But since I don't, what I do is I look for the maximum part of the graphic, which would be the tip of this little guy's tail here. And I will set my tile down there so that I have a fairly straight line. I'll make a little pencil mark. And then I'll peek around each edge. Here about where we're going to need to be for getting it in the center. Make a couple little marks on the extreme. Make sure you don't put pencil marks on the inside where it's going to sublimate, because that pencil lead will transfer. And I just lay this down here, make sure I'm within my extreme marks. Center in between those. Draw a few light pencil lines. And then you can either use a rotary cutter, you can use scissors. I happen to have scissors handy here, so I'm going to use those. If you're doing a graphic that's smaller than the tile is, make sure your paper is still as big as the tile. Otherwise, it will leave a mark, and you'll be able to see where the paper stopped on there. So now it's just a matter of applying the tile to the graphic. Get it squared up on there. And I always make my paper just a hair bigger than the tile is because it needs to roll over the edge. And I'll show you why here when we get over to the heat press. A couple pieces of heat tape so it doesn't shift and won't ghost. And these papers are marked on the back here so I know which ones are which. This one here is the text print, or the Hypoo rather, because there's no watermark on it. This here is the A sub. And this one is the text print. So we've got our 3 tiles prepped. Just need to go over to the heat press, get that heated up. Here's where you can kind of tell, hopefully you can tell here when these are all sitting side by side, that the Hypoo paper, the back of it is almost a little bit of a shade of pink compared to the front, which is pure white. But like I say, you need to be under really good light, and we're under 5600 Kelvin video lights here, so you're able to see this. But if you're in regular room lights with a regular warm light lamp, it's really hard to tell the difference. Now we'll get over the heat press. Okay, so over here at the heat press, so one of the things I always do is preheat my press. The time and temperature here for this will be 385 degrees for 240 seconds. And as I swing this press away, you'll see I have what they call a pressing pillow here. And that is because the tiles have a tapered edge on them. And because of that tapered edge, if you don't have that pressing pillow under there, if you have a graphic that goes all the way to the edges, it will not sublimate completely. There's something else I do is I close my press with nothing in it and let it run for a cycle before I put my tiles in it. So we'll let that run get preheated and then we'll get the tile set. Okay, I got my press preheated here. And where'd my pillow go? There it is. And it's warm. I'll be laying a piece of parchment paper on top of the pillow. Now the tiles go with the graphic down. And I know that may seem backwards, but it works best this way. And I cannot get all 3 of these onto that pillow, so we're going to have to do 2 at a time, or 2 and then 1. So don't really have to have this other piece of paper on this side of it, but I'm going to put it there. So we'll let that run. So in there right now is the text print and the A sub. And we'll be doing the Hypoo paper separately. Okay, we'll pull the first 2 off. Paper there. These are hot. I've got a Cricut mat sitting here I can set them on. This is the one we're going to be putting on next, so we'll swap him over there. Paper back on top. We'll press that one. We can take a little peek here, see how much these stuck. This is the A sub. And it has stuck big time, as always. This is the text print. Yeah, it still sticks. So we'll let that cool off and we'll peel them. Okay, we'll get this one pulled off. And of course I know that's stuck because I've used that before. So we'll let this cool and then we'll see about getting the paper off. We'll see how the colors are. Okay, these have cooled off to where I can handle them fine. As I said, that paper stuck really good. And I marked on the back of the tile what kind of paper they are. There's an A on this one for the A sub. And there will be there's a T on the back for the text print. I'm taking the heat tape off first here. This is optional, you could wait to do this. So what I do then is I get these wet. I'll just put them in the sink here, run some water on them, let them set for a minute or 2. And I'll show you how to get that paper and residue off then. You don't need to be messing around trying to scrape and everything else. It's not necessary. Just put them in the sink, run some water on them. And here's the Haipu tile. The same thing with it. I have an H on the back of it. Get her wet and let her soak. Okay, it's been about 3-4 minutes. So we'll take out the A-sub paper one first here. See, I can peel the paper off now. And you'll see that it'll leave a film behind. And I'll show you how to get that off here in a minute. Guess I could have let that set another minute or two. Still some paper residue there, but it'll come off. Next one I'm going to take out here is the text print. And I need to let that one soak just a little longer. Some water on it. And we'll see about the Haipu paper here. And that needs to soak a little longer yet. But while those are soaking, I'll show you how I get this film off. You get a little close up there, you'll see we have a film and a white chalky type looking stuff on there. You get these at Dollar Tree. Little scrubbies. Get her wet. Yeah, sometimes I'll follow up with a magic eraser, also a Dollar Tree item, just to get that last little bit of chalkiness off. Just dry it off here. So that's the A-sub. Okay, so here's our 3 tiles, all cleaned up. The top one here is the A-sub. This one here is the text print. And if you remember what I said about being careful not to get a pencil mark in the area where you're going to be, it's going to be on the project, because I did, and there's a little mark there because pencil lead sublimates too. And this one here is the Haipu. So, what's the verdict here? Well, of the 3 papers to peel off, the easiest when wet was the A-sub. The text print was next. The Haipu was the hardest to get off. I had to let it soak the longest. I shouldn't say it was hard. Color-wise, the Haipu paper is a little bit sharper, but the saturation on the text print is a little bit deeper than on the A-sub, which ghosts a little bit right there, and I'm not sure why that did that. We have a little bit of a ghosting on that one. I can't imagine that that would have shifted. It was taped. Okay, so here's what we have. This is the text print. This is the Haipu. And this one is the A-sub. So, you know, comparing them side by side, they're almost identical. There's very, very little difference really in color. The one here, the Haipu, is just slightly richer in color. Otherwise, everything's identical. I wanted to do this comparison for a couple reasons. One is some of my viewers have suggested that the text print will not stick to anything. Well, I wanted to try it on this because everything sticks to this when you're trying to do this on polyacrylic. And the same thing holds true if you put polyacrylic on wood and sublimate to it. Your paper's going to stick to it. And I see so many people have thrown projects away, just trashed them because, oh, this sticks, I'll never get it off. Just soak in water, it'll come off. You know, no, the ink doesn't come off, it stays there. Okay, so the next question might be, how permanent are these? These are basically permanent. Can you scratch this off? Yes, you could, because that polyacrylic is a coating on the ceramic. It's not like one of our laser engraved tiles where it's really permanent. This is color sublimated onto a coating that is on the tile. If something were to scratch this hard, yes, that would come off. It would scratch. You could clear coat this again to give a little bit better protection. Will it hold up out in the sun? It will eventually fade. You would have to put a spar finish on. That's a marine type finish or an epoxy finish. And it would have to be a UV resistant epoxy coating or a urethane coating like they clear coat cars with, which is starting to get complex. You're not going to get the good 2-part stuff in a spray can. And that urethane automotive coating is expensive. That would keep the colors from fading, but it depends on how much you want to invest in doing these. But getting back to the comparison of paper between the text print And the A-sub, as far as getting it set up in your printer and everything, it's simple. It's watermarked on the back, so it's very easy to not confuse which side is which. The haiku paper, that's a little bit different. It says, you know, to print on the white side. Well, if you look at it under normal light, both sides are white. If you get it under really bright light or a high Kelvin light like my video lights are in here, you'll see that one side is actually a very, very light pink. And that is the back. So that's something to remember there. Otherwise, the paper performs well, and we have used it before on things. We just prefer to use the A-sub because a little less confusion, and as you saw, it releases quicker when it's wet. They all release when they're wet, but that one works just a little bit quicker. So if you got something out of this little sublimation demonstration comparison, whatever you want to call it, appreciate getting a thumbs up, always helps the channel. Of course, we're always looking for subscribers. I'm Roger in the loft above the shop. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.